studying your last two. I swim med when they turned in. The staring down to mute. And can learn the pole that sunk he died.
One of the most common questions asked by corporate owner-managers is how often dividends should be declared and paid. The good news is that there is generally no rule requiring dividends to be paid monthly, quarterly, or annually. In most situations, the corporation has flexibility to choose a dividend frequency that works best for both the business and the shareholder. The process typically begins when the corporation earns profits. Once profits are available, the owner-manager may decide that some of those profits should be distributed personally through dividends. At that point, the question becomes not whether a dividend can be paid, but how frequently it should be paid. As shown on the slide, there are several common approaches. Some owner-managers prefer monthly dividends. This approach provides a steady stream of income throughout the year and can feel similar to receiving a regular salary. Monthly dividends may help with personal budgeting and cash flow management because funds are received on a predictable schedule. Others prefer quarterly dividends. In this approach, dividends are typically declared and paid every 3 months. Quarterly payments often provide a balance between regular cash flow and reduced administrative effort. Another option is an annual dividend. Some corporations choose to wait until year-end, review the company's financial results, and then declare a single larger dividend. This approach can simplify administration and provide flexibility when year-end tax planning decisions are being made. Importantly, none of these approaches is automatically better than the others. The most appropriate frequency depends on the specific circumstances of the corporation and its shareholders. Factors such as personal cash requirements, business cash flow, tax planning objectives, profitability, and administrative preferences may all influence the decision. What matters most is that the dividend frequency aligns with the owner's needs and the corporation's financial situation. The key takeaway from this slide is that there is no required dividend frequency. Dividends can generally be declared and paid at whatever interval makes the most sense for the corporation and its shareholders. The goal is to choose a frequency that supports both effective tax planning and practical cash flow management. Now that we know there is no required dividend frequency, the next question is which approach makes the most sense in practice. The answer often depends on balancing cash flow needs with administrative simplicity. This slide compares 3 common approaches: monthly dividends, quarterly dividends, and annual dividends. Let's begin with monthly dividends. With this approach, the shareholder receives dividend payments throughout the year, usually every month. One of the biggest advantages is predictable personal cash flow. Monthly payments can help with budgeting and provide a steady stream of income similar to a salary. Many owner-managers appreciate the consistency because it aligns with regular personal expenses. However, monthly dividends also create more administration. Each dividend payment may require additional tracking, calculations, documentation, and corporate records. More frequent payments can mean more paperwork and a greater administrative burden. Next, we have quarterly dividends. Quarterly dividends are paid 4 times per year, typically every 3 months. Many practitioners view this as a practical middle ground. It provides reasonably consistent cash flow while reducing the amount of administrative work compared to monthly payments. Quarterly dividends are often popular because they balance flexibility and simplicity. There are fewer dividend declarations to manage, yet the shareholder still receives funds regularly throughout the year. The primary challenge is that cash flow arrives less frequently than with monthly payments, so some planning may be required between dividend dates. Finally, we have annual dividends. With an annual dividend, The corporation typically makes a single dividend declaration and payment, often near year-end after reviewing the company's financial results. This approach is administratively simple because there is only one major declaration to document. Annual dividends can also provide flexibility for year-end tax planning because the final amount can often be determined after reviewing the corporation's overall performance. The trade-off is that the shareholder receives income less frequently. A large lump sum payment may require more personal cash flow planning, and there is less flexibility during the year if additional funds are needed. As you can see, each approach offers advantages and challenges. No single method is universally correct. That is why many owner-managers choose quarterly dividends. For many businesses, quarterly payments provide a practical balance between regular cash flow and manageable administration. The key takeaway from this slide is that dividend frequency should be chosen based on the needs of the shareholder and the corporation. The best approach is the one that balances personal cash flow, administrative effort, flexibility, and overall tax planning objectives. At this point, we've looked at the different dividend frequencies available to corporate owner-managers. The final question is how to choose the frequency that best fits the corporation's overall situation. The answer is that dividend planning should never be based on just one factor. Instead, it should balance several important considerations at the same time. At the center of the slide is dividend planning. Surrounding it are the key factors that influence the decision. The first factor is personal cash needs. Every owner-manager has different financial requirements. Some individuals need regular income throughout the year to cover personal expenses, while others may be comfortable receiving larger payments less frequently. The second factor is corporate cash flow. Even if a corporation is profitable, it still needs sufficient cash to operate, pay suppliers, invest in growth, and meet its ongoing obligations. Dividend decisions should always consider the company's liquidity position. The third factor is tax planning. Dividend timing can affect personal tax results, corporate planning opportunities, and year-end tax strategies. Many owner-managers coordinate dividend decisions with their accountant to ensure the approach remains tax efficient. The fourth factor is administrative effort. More frequent dividends generally mean more calculations, more documentation, and more record keeping. Some corporations prefer simplicity and choose a less frequent payment schedule for that reason. The fifth factor is documentation requirements. Regardless of how often dividends are paid, proper records should be maintained. Dividend declarations, resolutions, and supporting documentation should be prepared and retained as part of the corporation's records. The sixth factor is shareholder needs. In corporations with multiple shareholders, dividend decisions may need to consider the financial objectives and expectations of several individuals rather than just one owner. The workflow shown at the bottom of the slide illustrates a structured planning process. First, cash flow is reviewed. Next, a dividend frequency is selected. The dividend is then formally declared, properly documented, and ultimately reported for tax purposes. Notice the professional tip highlighted on the slide. Whatever frequency is chosen, consistency and documentation are essential. Whether dividends are paid monthly, quarterly, or annually, maintaining complete and accurate records helps support both the corporation's legal documentation and its tax reporting. The key takeaway from this slide is that good dividend planning is about balance. The best dividend strategy considers tax efficiency, personal cash flow, corporate cash flow, administrative simplicity, and proper documentation. When these factors are evaluated together, owner-managers can choose a dividend frequency that supports both their personal goals and the long-term needs of the corporation.